Welcome to A Court of Fairies and Fangirls. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is a Sarah J. Maas fan podcast where we are obsessed with her books and can't stop thinking about them or talking about them. So we figured, why not record us thinking and talking about it?
We're going to break down chapters, go through each book separately, go into character analysis and any thoughts or kind of theories that we have about books, characters, plots, etc.
And maybe play some fun games along the way.
Exactly.
So welcome and enjoy. Welcome back.
Welcome back to season 2.
Season 2 of A Court of Fairies and Fangirls.
Yes.
This season, we're reading book 2, A Court of Mist and Fury.
Yep. Doing the same thing, breaking down chapters, going through it all. And it's crazy to be back for a second season.
We're so excited. I'm proud of us too.
I know.
All
Me
good
too.
things. And also, just to warn everybody, this is our favorite book.
Yeah, both of ours. So
It's our favorite book. I think it's my most favorite book that SJM has ever written. Of any of them.
I agree.
Yes. And also, maybe ever? It's top.
It's in my top 3 for sure of all-time favorite books.
Really? Yeah, I'm absolutely there with you. I have in my book journal this year, I have a bracket going to come up with what my book of the year is.
Yeah.
And Mist and Fury just keeps winning every time.
Yeah.
And I can't help it. It's the best. So we're really excited to go on this journey with you and to share not only our favorite author with you because of throughout this entire podcast, but now our favorite book.
I know.
It's going to be so exciting. So this season's going to be 15 episodes. Mm-hmm. And like Sarah had said, we're just going to be doing the same thing as we did before.
Yep.
Woohoo! So should we dive right in?
Let's dive right in.
I'm just so excited to get started.
I know.
Love this one so much. Okay, so we're doing chapters 1 through 4 this week. Mm-hmm. I know that this book has a little 2-page prologue. I'm kind of lumping that in with my chapter 1 summary.
Yeah, I did too.
So, chapter 1. This is to remind listeners, I have Post-its that dictate the feelings that the chapters give me. Mm-hmm. This is an In My Feels sticker, and it is sad feels. I am in all my sad feels.
Yes.
So, Feyre suffers from nightmares about her time under the mountain. In the darkness of the night, she reflects on what happened, why she did what she did, and its impact on her soul. Yeah. So we start off heavy.
Yeah, the prologue, that was just so much.
I know. Her heart is just, so tortured. It's so tortured.
I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean,
right.
We'd all be feeling I would like to think we'd all be feeling very similarly if we killed these innocents, even though we knew it was for a good cause to save everyone, save Tamlin. Yeah. It just breaks her.
I know. It also just on a side note, because I'm thinking it's what in the world, I try to connect these things to regular life. Right. I feel I immediately think about military or first responders, and it's do they suffer similar guilt if an innocent life somehow for some reason dies on their hands, even if it's by accident or not by any fault of their own? I was are there people who walk around every day feeling like this? Because that just breaks my heart.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure that's pretty much what PTSD is for most of these guys.
I know. And so it's that's just
terrible.
what she's suffering from. It's a horrible war type PTSD.
So she says, to free them all, to free Tamlin, I would do it. I was the butcher of innocence and savior of a land.
Butcher is such a harsh word.
It's so, and I mean, I don't want to say she only killed 2 people. When she really, I mean, she saved millions.
Saved millions.
But yeah, to call yourself a butcher is...
It's so intense.
Oh, I know.
I don't like it. And then... So she has this horrible nightmare. She's torturing herself. And she jolts awake. Yeah. First thing I noticed is it said, Tamlin hadn't stirred as I jolted awake. How do you not wake up to that?
That is a great question.
You are a fae male with great hearing.
I know.
Help me understand.
I know. And I think we'll get more into it in chapter 1. She talks about it a little bit more, but it was like, are they choosing to kind of like pretend not to hear each other?
Towards the end of this chapter, they get to that. But it definitely struck me at first. I was like, I don't understand. Because part of me is like, he's a warrior, right? I think, again, just to like connect back to the military, my dad is a Marine. Mm-hmm. He hears a pin drop and he jolts awake. Yeah. And he'll say it's like, it's the Marine training in him. Like, they just never sleep restfully ever again, basically. Right. So I'm like, you are a warrior. Mm-hmm. You are a Fey male with great hearing.
You know he hears her.
You hear her.
Yeah, you know he does.
Bothers me. Anyway.
And the other thing I wanted to point out was she said, murderer, butcher, monster, liar, deceiver. I didn't know who I meant. The lines between me and the queen had long since blurred. Oh. I was like, oh my gosh. She's literally comparing herself to Amarantha.
That's crazy.
And she said the lines blurred. I was like, no.
Honey.
There's such a difference between you and Amarantha because you killed 2 people to save everyone. Right. It wasn't like...
Your hand was forced.
Right. It wasn't like with Claire, how Amarantha was just having fun torturing her.
Right. I'm like...
That made me so sad that she compared herself to her. And she had a hard time, like, seeing if there was a difference.
Right. Well, in this dream, she ends up killing herself.
Right.
Like, how much do you hate yourself?
So much at this point.
It's crazy.
I know.
It's just, she needs someone to have, she needs a therapist. That's what she needs.
Yes.
I wish they had therapy in fairy world.
Yeah. Ugh. But yeah, so that's her dream. And so then we actually go into chapter 1.
Yep, we wake up, we vomit a bunch, which makes sense.
Yeah, and I understand her fear, like awakening from the nightmare, unable to determine, like, is she under the mountain? Is this real life? And especially with it being so dark.
Yeah, I mean, it's PTSD.
Right, and it's so recent. Like, it's only been 3 months we come to learn that it's been since then. And she was under the mountain for 3 months, basically. So, 3 months is not a long time to recover from a trauma of that scale.
Right.
So I could see her, having nightmares for the next year easily.
Yep.
So.
Very easily. Mm-hmm. Poor girl. Something I noticed when she was vomiting is she was like staring at that eye. Yeah. We talked about it so much last season, the eye in the center of her palm. Mm-hmm. And she said, it seemed to watch me, calm and cunning as a cat. Its slitted pupil wider than it had been earlier that day, as if it adjusted to the light as an ordinary eye would. It's just like creepy. I'm like, eye, just stop.
I know. Always the eye, man.
Yep. But tying that tattoo to the man that gave it to her, Reese, we find out he's been nowhere to be seen for 3 months.
Yeah, so he hasn't, like, picked up on his bargain that he made Farah make with him.
So it's like, where is he?
Right, and why is he not claiming his bargain?
And, like, she even notes, like, even if Reese at the end, even if he hadn't been exactly an enemy. Because, like, we talked about that a lot, is that final battle scene where he was like fighting for her and she was trying to save him, and it's like they clearly became partners. Like, we talked about that a lot,
right?
So I don't know, part of me is wondering if she's like she's also curious, like, where Reese is. It's not just like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore, right? She's like, what's going on with him?
Yeah, like, is he okay too?
Yeah.
Or is he suffering, like I'm suffering?
Exactly.
And then she's just trying to, we get over the nightmare, and then she's talking about how she's just trying to get used to her new Fae body, how she broke, like, all these different things in the house and Alice removed, things from her room that were 800 years old because she kept breaking things. She bent all the silverware, which just cracked me up. So she's just not used to her own strength.
Right. Which, I'm going to say this, and I know this is not the right, but it humanizes her even further. Because it's like, if any of us, even though she became a fairy, it's like, yeah, if any human became a fairy, like, we'd be pulling the same crap.
I know. I was trying to think. I feel like I've seen a similar scene in a movie, or maybe it was a TV show.
No, you're totally right.
Like, maybe like a Vampire Diaries or something like that, where somebody...
You know what? I bet you it was Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, or the original. Something where somebody becomes way stronger than they've ever been, and they don't know what to do with their body. Yeah. They're just so unaccustomed to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Twilight.
Oh, yeah.
When Bella becomes, like, so strong, she, like, crushes everybody when she hugs them.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know your own strength.
Yep.
So I just thought of that. It was just funny.
Truly. And then it gets to the point where she's kind of pondering why Tamlin doesn't wake up, and is it a choice? And I'm just like, you two need to process your trauma together.
I know.
Because it has him also having nightmares, sometimes sleeping as a wolf,
right.
like staring at the door. I'm like, you two are so effed up.
Right.
From what happened under the mountain.
I know.
The only way you're going to get through this is to acknowledge it. Like,
I know.
if you just keep shoving these things under the rug, they're not going to get better.
But it's crazy because they say the opposite, basically, that by not acknowledging it, they're not acknowledging that Amarantha did this to them. I was like,
That's not how this works.
It doesn't work that way. It's like if you acknowledge it, talk about it,
work through it.
Yes, then you can move past it.
Yes.
It's not good to bottle it up because I speak from experience because that's how I handle my emotions. I bottle it up and then it just blows up on you.
Yeah. I listened to a really good podcast once that talked about how emotions aren't like just a state of being, that they are a tunnel in which we move through.
Interesting.
And so it's like if you're feeling sad, you won't stop feeling sad until you move through the sad tunnel. Like, the sadness is just gonna, like, sit with you, continue to fester, get worse because you're not moving, right? But it's, like, it's that process of moving through the emotion.
Yeah.
That helps you to release it and heal.
No, that's so true.
And so, like, that's why I consciously, because I'm like you, where I used to just, like, it's funny because it's like I'm a very emotional person, but I also bottle things up. So I'm somehow both. I am a juxtaposition at all times. But no, I heard that and it was like, no, if you're sad, just like experience it. When you experience it, you're like, you can be done.
Yeah.
Like, you can be done.
You don't have to carry it with you for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Exactly.
And then it blows up on somebody when they didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, you two need to talk about this.
And
it doesn't have to be with each other.
No, but you would think that they would want to kind of talk about it with each other. Not necessarily all of it, because, you know, the tattoos and the bargain she made with Reese, like, obviously she probably feels uncomfortable talking about that with Tamlin, but just, you know, going through fighting the worm and talk about with Lucian, like, what happened when they were battling, you know, to not get squished by the grates. It's like she knew she was incompetent in reading, and just, like, talk through those things with, like, the people that she experienced them with.
Yeah, I feel like shared trauma can bring people closer together.
Right, so you would think, and then especially at the end where, you know, Tamlin kills Amarantha, you would think that they would want to talk about that.
Right.
But they don't.
Just
clearly. Nothing. I'm like, okay, that's on you guys.
Yeah. Just the end of this chapter, it was easier to not have to explain anyway, to not have to tell him that though I'd freed him, saved his people, and all of Perithian from Amarantha, I'd broken myself apart, and I didn't think even eternity would be long enough to fix me.
I had that quoted too. I was like, geez.
I'm like, you, like, seriously, go talk to somebody about it.
I know.
But she makes the point, like, it was easier not to talk about it. And it's like, yeah, sometimes it's easier just to, like, pretend you don't have a problem.
Right. And I don't know.
It was like, it's a hard open to this book.
It is. And like we were talking about earlier, it's kind of similar to the first book in that Farrah is just in this deep, dark place.
Yeah.
With how she was in the first book. And also in that it kind of just throws you right into the story.
Yes.
It's not, you don't have to, like, wait to find out. We didn't live these, like, 3 months happily only to find out that now she's got all this trauma. It's just throws you in there, and this is what you got to deal with.
No, you're totally right. But I need her to get better.
I know.
Anything else on chapter 1?
Nope.
Excuse me.
Chapter 2.
Okay, chapter 2. This was a really long chapter.
Yeah. I know. I have a lot of notes on it.
Okay, so summary was neutral. I put, Tamlin's protective nature keeps Feyre at the manor to plan their wedding. With the help of Ianthe, details get sorted out. And that evening, Tamlin returns home to apologize and make up. Chapter 2. What'd you notice?
Well, so this is where we find out that it's been 2 months since Tamlin proposed. And I was like, wait a second. Excuse me, why did I not get this amazing romantic like scene in the book?
I know.
I was like, wait, you're engaged? I missed it? What happened? Come on, SJM. Where's my romantic story?
Okay, but she does that.
Yes.
Not to spoil in the future like any other books or series, but she's pulled that crap multiple times.
I know.
I saw someone post about it on like TikTok where they were like, why do I never get to experience these beautiful moments with these characters? I have worked so hard. I have been with them in all the hard stuff. I should experience the really good things too.
Yeah, I was a little mad about that. A little salty.
Okay, but also, let's do like a quick timeline, right? Right now, it is 3 months since Under the Mountain.
Yes.
Right? They are not even... They're at winter solstice.
Right.
Right? That I think we talk about that in this
we do.
one. So, like, winter solstice is coming up. They met at they got together... They first met just before Calenmai, which is the start of spring.
Right.
They haven't even known each other a year.
Oh, my God.
It hasn't even been a year.
That's crazy. I did not... I didn't put that together. No, I'm just
barely just before spring to the beginning of winter.
Right.
All of this stuff has happened.
That's
in like 9 months.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Right?
Yes.
They meet. There's tension. They fall in love. Under the Mountain. Trauma. Proposal. 9 months. All of it.
That's nuts.
Right?
That's nuts. That's
Especially
way too fast.
Way too fast. You know how I feel about people who get together way too fast. So I was like walking through this mentally, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize that was all. In my brain, it's been like a year or more. But no, it's less than a year.
Interesting. There you go. That's.
They're just ready to, get married and forget about the trauma, right? It's better to get married than to process your trauma. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. It's an interesting take. Yeah. Very interesting. But what I thought was really weird, aside from the fact that we didn't get to have this romantic engagement scene, was that she doesn't really seem excited about it. She says 2 months of enduring presentations about flowers and clothes and seating arrangements and food. I was like, enduring? I was like, that's not exactly... I mean, granted...
She said, like, the proposal was magical and it was the happiest moment. But it's, like, ever since then...
It doesn't seem like she's enjoying herself.
No.
Which, like, I mean, I know she's suffering because of everything that went on Under the Mountain.
Right.
But this is also you getting married to the man you love. And I know you might not be the big party planner.
Right.
But shouldn't you be a little bit more excited?
I feel like it should help pull you out of your sadness a little bit.
Right. Like, you could be kind of using the wedding as an excuse not to think about your feelings.
Right.
But you're not
That's a good way to channel.
But you're not thinking about anything. You're not wanting to think about the wedding. You're not wanting to think about your feelings.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what are you thinking about? What is going on with you?
Yeah. Yeah. Part of me, like, wonders, and, like, and I'm sharing what I first thought when I read this book, is, like, when you're in a relationship and that relationship causes something bad to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it hard to separate the two?
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a completely not related to this book, but I recently watched the TV show Outer Banks.
Yeah.
So good. You need to watch it.
Okay.
But, like, there's a point where it's like there's two people who are dating, but the girl's, like, dad tries to kill her boy.
Oh, interesting.
And the boy ends up, like, attacking the dad. And then it's like, okay, now it's like, what is she supposed to do?
Right.
Like, you're caught between your dad and your boyfriend. And so then it's like, even if the dad was wrong, can you ever just be with that boyfriend without thinking about the trauma that you experienced with your father?
Yeah.
Who was like...
Not really. Like, it's always going to be associated.
Exactly. You can't separate it.
No, just like... So she'll always associate Under the Mountain.
With her relationship with Tamlin.
Right.
So that's what I'm wondering is, like, part of the reason why she's having a hard time getting excited for these things.
Yeah,
because it's true. Like, in a way, their love keeps reminding her about the time under the mountain.
Of everything that she did in which she hates herself for.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's like, if she had just said, I love you to begin with, she would have never been under the mountain.
It's very true.
I'm sure she's playing those like what if games.
Oh, of course.
Right? And so I don't know. I think that's part of it.
That's an interesting thought.
But it's she also like, and I'm a birthday person. But she ignores her birthday.
I was just gonna. It's not even that she ignores her birthday. She doesn't even tell. Like Tamlin doesn't even know it's her birthday.
Right.
She didn't even tell him it was her birthday.
Like you can't keep that stuff.
I was like, that's so.
Also, that's an indication of how little length of time you've known each other. Because in theory, his brain should be like, when is your birthday?
Right. I was just astounded. Why are you keeping stuff? Like, I know you don't want gifts, and she probably isn't the person that wants her birthday celebrated. But even still, it's the man you love. Wouldn't you want him to kind of just treat you special? Not necessarily give you gifts, but just, Yeah,
as someone who is married to a man who does not like to celebrate his birthday.
Right.
Like, he at least tells me when his birthday is.
Yeah.
And I can be like, happy birthday, here's a cookie.
Right.
And that's all he wants, but it's like, I can at least still, like...
Acknowledge it.
It's like, do you not trust him? Do you just...
Right.
Because part of me, that's what my brain initially goes to is, like, trust, but maybe it's even just, like, it goes back to how much she hates herself.
Yeah.
That she just doesn't even want to, like...
She wants no one to celebrate her.
Yeah.
Ugh. Sad day, Feyre.
It's sad. And then, so this chapter is, we get this inner monologue, but it's opening up because she wants to go to the town.
Right.
To help rebuild. And Tamlin is basically like, a no.
Yeah.
Which I don't love.
I don't love, but I get it. I mean, he's worried he won't be able to protect her. And I mean, he just lost her. So it's hard. It's like, yes, but also like, come on.
Like we're just going to town.
I know. You're not going to another court. You're
going to be there.
Exactly. I was like, I feel like you're a little overreacting to this.
Exactly. Also, part of me is like, you can't heal from trauma if you're just hiding in a house all day.
I know.
As someone who's been stuck in a house for a year and a half because of COVID.
Right.
Like... That doesn't help anybody.
I know.
You just go stir crazy.
I feel like he's just nervous, like about something happening to her.
I know.
But and again, it's like, who could blame the guy after everything that just happened?
I know.
Because it's so recent too. That's the thing. It's
been 3 months.
It's only been 3 months. And we find out, Amarantha still has creatures out there that escape. So he has every right to be nervous. And yes, she is high fae. But again, she doesn't know her own strength. She doesn't really have the control over her body that even she had when she was human. She was probably better off as a human because she knew her capabilities.
Right.
Whereas now she doesn't exactly know what she can do. So again, I hate it, but I kind of understand where he's coming from.
Right. But also, and maybe I'm just not a good wife, but I'm like, you're not her father. Like you don't get to be like, no, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
Like if my husband. No, I'm going to say if my husband, I feel like he's maybe done this once or twice, but it's like, it's got to be like big things where you pull that stuff, right? Even as like a wife to a husband where I'm like, no, you are not allowed to do that.
Right.
You use those very sparingly, right? It's not a consistent thing in a relationship.
Yep.
And I feel like I don't know how often she hasn't left the house, so he's doing it very often. And granted, there's circumstances, but I'm just like, the power dynamic at this moment makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you have to trust her too.
Right.
Like, you're not her parent.
And she's also perfectly capable. Like, she did all those amazing things as a human.
As a human. That's the other thing, is she's high fae now.
Right.
She was human then. You didn't care if she went up.
And it's like, none of your people are going to hurt her. She's basically their savior.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think he is slightly overreacting.
Definitely. Again, I understand where he's coming from.
Right.
But it's just again, if he processes his trauma, he might be able to recognize how his behavior is impacting everybody around them.
I know.
Anyway.
But so basically she just like agrees to stay in the house.
I know.
And this one part, it really got me. She said, I hated the bright dresses that had become my daily uniform, but didn't have the heart to tell Tamlin. Not when he'd bought so many, not when he looked so happy to see me wear them. Not when his words weren't far from the truth. The day I put on my pants and tunics is the day that I strapped weapons to myself like fine jewelry. It would send a message far and clear across the lands. So I wore the gowns and let Alice arrange my hair, if only so it would buy these people a measure of peace and comfort. So I was like, so she's again, being miserable, but it's for everyone else. Because I totally understand what she's saying in regards to, you know, she straps weapons on, she puts the pants and tunic on.
But that's not who she is.
No,
that's who she has never been that.
No.
And there's a difference between wearing pants and carrying a sword and dressing for war. You know what I mean?
I know. It's like you could just wear the sword on your hip like everybody else does.
Exactly. Like, Tamlin's walking around with weapons.
Right.
It says that he has, like, a whole baldric of it. So, like, you're telling me her being in pants and, like, is gonna traumatize your court?
But I feel like it's gonna remind everybody of what happened. Right. That she's ready for battle.
But she's a hero. It's
she
like...
She is, but...
It's like it's like... And it's another thing where it's like, you can't process your trauma if you're pretending to be someone you're not.
I know. Because
that's a whole other dynamic you're throwing on top of this.
I know.
Moral of this story, I'm going to keep saying it, therapy. They need therapy.
I agree.
I feel this strongly. But, it's just...
I know.
It's uncomfortable for everybody, but they just came out of something so horrible. So, like you said, you can only blame them so far.
I know.
Another quote that just like broke my heart is she was talking about painting.
Oh yeah.
And how she's just like stopped doing it.
I know. I feel like the artist in her like died under the mountain.
She said, I stopped cataloging color and feeling and texture, stopped noticing it. I could barely look at the paintings hanging inside the manor. That was something we kept talking about in that first book of like how whenever we walked into a room, it was so cool how Feyre was like perceiving everything. Right. And you could tell that there was that artist side of her. And it's just gone.
I know. She walked into her painting studio and literally basically just like walked right out and hasn't been back since that first day. She's like, I can't paint. I can't.
And going back to what I was saying before, it's like she has completely lost who she is.
Oh, yeah.
She's not able to wear pants. She's not able to be outdoors. She's not able to paint. And some of this is enforced and some of it is like self-inflicted. But it's like so far I'm seeing her doing nothing that's true to her. And it's like, of course you can't get out of this spiral.
Right.
Of course.
Because she was this super independent person that took care of everybody else. And now she doesn't even know how to take care of herself right now.
Exactly.
And you would think that painting would be her one reprieve. That's how she would grieve and process. But she can't
even get herself to do that. And we meet Ianthe.
Yes.
Who is a high priestess who has come to help her plan the wedding and be like an advisor.
And she's kind of, they said that she's one of Tamlin's childhood friends.
Yes.
So, which is cool. I mean, that we get to, like, Tamlin's actually bringing somebody new to court. It's not just Lucien. And she's just been helping Feyre with everything around the manor, wedding planning, all that.
Yeah. And I think this is our first, like, real introduction to a priestess.
Right.
So we're starting to get a little bit of a gauge of, like, who they are, what they're like, all those pieces.
And there's 12 of them, apparently. 12 high priestesses. And she kind of almost...
She's the youngest, too.
She is. And Feyre kind of talks about how the high priestesses are almost not the same level as the lords of Prythian, but she kind of puts them almost on that caliber. It's like their kids are almost as important as a high lord's children.
Right.
So we know that Ianthe is a powerful...
She's a VIP.
Yes.
So her and Ianthe are doing wedding planning and all those different pieces. And there was a quote that stuck out to me about why she's no longer, like, training in any way.
Yeah, I think I picked out the same one.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, I was too watched, too monitored and judged. Why should the bride of the High Lord learn to fight if peace had returned?
Yep.
And then something that kind of irked me was it said that had been Ianthe's reasoning when I'd made the mistake of mentioning it at dinner. Tamlin, to his credit, had seen both sides. I'd learned to protect myself, but the rumors would spread. And then, is it here or is it somewhere else? I thought there was like a line.
No, I know I have it. It says,
okay, you're the line.
Hating that though he agreed with me, he had sided with her.
Yes.
I
don't know why I can't find that this moment, but I was like, oh, I'd be so mad.
That peeved me so much. Like, I'm okay with the decisions Tamlin's made. Granted, I don't necessarily like them, but I totally understand where he's coming from. Yeah. But that one, I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, you should be siding with your girl, backing up your girl. why are you siding with Ianthe on this? It's like, you don't have to train her and, you know, parade her around all 7 courts as like, hey, look what my bride can do. Look what Feyre, this new High Fae, can do. It's like, no, you could just train her, allow her to get out of the house just to practice so she knows what she can do with her body. So she's capable.
Because she's a High Fae now and needs to learn how to use the new body.
Right. Because it's not like fighting is never going to happen.
Yeah.
If you look at all of the Prithian history, there is always going to be another battle. So she should at least know how to fight.
Yeah.
So I just, that really irked me when she said that.
Well, because I was also thinking, like, what would I do if my husband did that? And I would punch him in the throat. Like, that's, I'd be like, I'm sorry, who's your wife? Who is your wife? Like, unacceptable. I'm sorry.
No, I totally agree. That's...
And it's vice versa. Like, you just have to suck it up and not agree with that person.
Right.
Also, part of me is like, is Tamlin, maybe it's like Tamlin's so busy dealing with his own trauma that I'm like, I understand you're trying to physically protect Feyre, but you are doing nothing to help her mentally.
No, not at all.
Nothing.
I don't think therapy is a big thing in Prithian.
Well, no, I know. I understand. I know, I keep saying the word and it's not the... But I'm saying it's even like, go get some fresh air.
I know.
You know?
Just be outside, not think about all these things. It's like, you guys should just take a walk.
He's just like, go plan a wedding.
I know. I know.
I'm like, help her.
I know.
But anyway.
And then a little bit more about Ianthe. She seems to have her sights set on Lucien, though he clearly seems to have no interest in her. And honestly, more like, it's not even not interested, it's like a dislike towards her.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious why. But I mean, she does make a note that, I don't know if it's this chapter or the next chapter, but Ianthe's family kind of, they ran away basically 50 years ago and just lived somewhere else during all of Amarantha's reign. So she was never under the mountains. She never suffered like everybody else did.
Right.
She abandoned the spring court basically. And so Feyre thinks that's why, Lucian's pissed at her.
No, I agree.
Which, I mean, I would be pissed too, but also...
It's also not necessarily her fault because they said her father had taken them all away.
And it's like, could you be mad at somebody for trying to escape? It's like, that's... I mean, think about Alice. Alice escaped the summer court to go to the spring court
so it's like,
to protect her family. Alice? So it's like, you're not mad at Alice. She just so happened to get caught up in the spring court crap.
Right.
But, so I was like, Ianthe's family was kind of doing the same thing. And it's like, if you had known, wouldn't you have tried to escape too? So, I feel like he's being a little harsh on that.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Also, the siding with her quote, I finally found my tag for it. Okay. It was in regards to the wedding dress.
Oh, okay.
But still.
I know.
A wedding dress is a moment where you can side with your girl.
Yes, let her pick. Come on. Like, let's be real.
Something else that I noticed is that she's not telling her family
about
any of this. She's not inviting them. She's not letting them know. And I'm like, why don't you want them? I mean, she says something about, like, Nesta, like, not wanting to be around fairy kind.
Right.
But I'm like, you know your father would come.
Right.
And Elaine would come.
I don't think she wants them to know that she's High Fae.
Yeah.
I think it has nothing to do with the wedding. I think it is all to do with the fact that...
shame about that.
Yeah, she's ashamed about it. She doesn't want them to know about it. I think that's 100% to do with why she's not telling her family. The other thing I thought was interesting, not related to her family, was how her and Tamlin keep separate bedrooms.
I made the same note.
I was like, wait, what?
Here's the thing.
So you live together, you're engaged.
It's one thing to have an office.
Yes.
It's another thing to have a completely separate bedroom.
Right, but it's like he stays over in her bedroom every night. She never goes to his bedroom.
Yeah.
They live together. They're engaged.
What is the point?
But I don't get it. I was like, it reminds me of like the king and queens of old times, where it's like they each had their own like chambers, and I mean even like today, like king and queen of England, they have different.
Well, they did. Didn't they die?
Well, yeah, but okay, like 5 years ago, whatever. But they had separate chambers.
Yeah,
which is so odd to me. I never understood that. When I would take tours of like these, you know, old historic homes, there's always like a men's room and a woman's like room for sleeping, and I just like, why?
Yeah.
Why don't you? I could get like dressing rooms. Like, the female has a room for dressing, the man has a room for dressing because their clothes were so big.
Yeah.
But I was like, why do you have to sleep in different rooms? Why?
Yeah.
don't get it.
In this modern world, that's like an annoying like red flag to me. I'm like, I know. Help me understand what you.
But maybe that's like custom. I mean, we don't know. So
yeah, that is my modern understanding applying it to
this, modern understanding. But I was like, that could totally be the norm. So I just thought it was weird.
I agree. So Tamlin comes and he apologizes for not letting her be there earlier. But go to that village earlier. Something that struck me though is what he said, soon you'll be my wife and it'll be fine. We'll leave all this behind. And I'm like, that is such a tactic that people do, where it's like, one day things will be okay. One day we won't have to live like this anymore. And it's like, okay, but when is that? And
don't just like push stuff off. It's like, wouldn't you rather deal with it now?
Right. But, so they're clearly both just like avoiding all bad things right now. So I was like, oh, they're just like, he's like apologizing. Yeah. But he's also like, just like, is it passing the buck? Is that the right term? Just like saying, like, later.
Yeah, basically.
We'll deal with this later. You hold off for a little bit longer, and then we'll talk about it at another point in time. And it's like, no, why don't we talk about it now?
Yeah. The last thing for this chapter that I want to point out, they're talking about she's talking to Tamlin about like titles, basically. And we find out that there's no high ladies. So basically when somebody marries a high lord, they simply become lady of that court.
There's no such thing as a high lady.
I know. I was like, oh, all right, well, fine. I was like, why don't they get, but I mean, I guess it's like king and queen, where it's like the queen is technically not the same rank as the king, but I don't know, whatever.
I don't know.
I was like, okay. So just more formalities that we're learning about with Prithian, like the little. So then I was like, well, maybe they aren't supposed to share bedrooms. Like maybe it's one of those just weird things.
Yeah, something this chapter definitely brought out for me is how, like, in some ways, the Spring Court is really like barbaric, right? Like with Calanmai and those types of things. But in other ways, it's so formal. It's like, you have to do it this way. And
it really does feel very formal.
And it's like, what? Which are you?
I know. Yeah.
So, anyhow. Anything else with chapter 2?
No, that was my last note. Anything for you? Okie doke.
All right. Chapter 3?
Chapter 3.
All right. This is another neutral chapter for me. Okay. I put Lucien and Feyre travel to help a nearby village. Okay. On the way, they discuss the new order of things and Feyre's place in it all. Once at the village, their help is not wanted, and Feyre returns home dejected. Chapter 3.
What'd you think? Initial thoughts?
I was excited that she got to leave the house the next day.
I know
I was just shitting on all of that past stuff, but I was like, oh, he's letting her leave.
Right. So clearly he's listening to her.
He's trying.
He is trying.
So I thought that was really cool.
In regards to the trying, though, how many freaking escorts do you need?
I know. It was like 8.
There was 8? Something like 8. I was like, what the heck? I was like, you're going to a nearby village that's 3 miles.
Right.
Do you really need 8 chaperones? It's a little. I just feel
at least he's letting her leave.
I know. I was like, man, that's a lot of escorts.
Compromise.
I know.
Okay. But something that like really is sticking out to me while they're on their way is the dynamic between Feyre and Lucien has like changed dramatically.
It really has.
What about you? What did you notice?
I thought it was really interesting that Feyre has a ranking of places within the manor that she can endure. So they're ranked by how much they make her body lock up and sweat. I was like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like she's not addressing the issue. Just trying to...
No.
She's avoiding it.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's crazy. Like, she won't go into the kitchen because it's low and no windows. And
that is someone who is traumatized.
Yes, truly traumatized and not dealing with it.
Right. And then we have Lucien just like straight up lying to her.
He sort of.
He's lying by omission is still lying.
I know. It's fairy lying. It's how they do it. They're never totally honest. They never, they play with their words.
Drives me crazy.
I know. But it's just, I get where Lucien's coming from in that he's truly trying to be obedient because that's who everyone's looking to. So he says, we need rules and rankings in order if we're going to stand a chance at rebuilding. So what he says goes. I am the first one the others look to. I set the example. Don't ask me to risk the stability of this court by pushing back. Not right now. He's giving you as much free reign as he can. You have no idea how hard it is for him to even let you off the estate grounds. He's under more pressure than you realize. And, like, yes, I get it. Because he is. Like, he really does have to establish... These people have been under the mountain for 50 years. Like, people haven't had normalcy in 50 years. So you really do have to establish order. And especially Lucien being his number one. Like, you can't expect him to not follow the rules.
Right.
And do stuff for Farah against what Tamlin's ordering.
No, it's true.
But also, I was like, why is he under pressure? I was like, from who?
Right. I feel like he has a self-imposed pressure.
I don't know, but
or maybe Ianthe is pressuring him.
Maybe, but I was like, is it the other courts too? Oh. Do they now have like something? They're trying to reestablish the power dynamic. So is there like a lot of pressure from them in like wanting to take over the Spring Court or wanting to prove like who's the most powerful now? So we don't really know all the behind the scenes,
right? So
I'm really trying to like give him the benefit of the doubt, and like he really is trying to do. I mean, he clearly made the effort in giving Farah like the ability to go out today. So
right. But she makes the note that she's like, I didn't realize I'd become a prisoner.
Right.
And I can see why she's feeling that way too.
For sure.
Just like such a terrible situation for everybody right now.
It really is.
I feel like everyone is trying their best, but they just don't know what is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't really think there's a good response either.
Yeah.
Or a good answer. There's no like, yes, you should do it this way.
Right. But Lucien kind of like lets us in a little bit about what Tamlin's feeling, which is just like absolutely terrified, which is like we were kind of getting that. Mm-hmm. But he really just like referenced like, we all heard your neck break.
Yeah.
Like he heard that.
Oh, yeah.
And then had to suffer knowing you were dead.
Mm-hmm.
And he's lucky enough that you came back.
I know.
And I'm just like, okay, that is very traumatic.
Yeah. So it's like when we actually really like think about it from Tamlin's side, I was like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like hearing, you know, Josh's neck snap and then just being like, oh yeah, you go for it. Go do whatever you want. Like, no, right. I'd be freaking out.
Right. And like we keep saying, it's only been 3 months.
I know. It's only been 3 months. And also about Tamlin's desire to keep her safe, he says his family's own slaughter keeps him from being so liberal with her safety. He's lost those he cares for too many times. Like, oh,
that's so
like
sad.
It's another reason. Like it's just like Tamlin has so many legitimate reasons.
Yeah.
For wanting to protect Farah, wanting to keep her safe.
Yeah.
So that was just another thing.
It's just hard.
I know. And also when they were talking about that, like how, you know, her neck snapped and whatnot. Poor Lucien. Like he talks about how Tamlin got to, you know, have her come back and the love of his life didn't. I was so brokenhearted for him.
Lucien, I'm sorry.
Oh, that made me so sad for him. It's like I was sad the last book, like when we found out his whole story about how he had to watch. But then
I think that's another reason why Lucien is so on board with supporting Tamlin, because he's experienced it where someone didn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, I know what the worst part of this feels like.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to support my friend as he like works through it. So it's like, I feel like that's another connection that Tamlin and Lucien have, is that they've suffered something similarly.
Yeah.
But Tamlin obviously had a better outcome, but it helps Lucien understand, support him, do all those different pieces.
Mm-hmm. They talk about the tithe also.
Oh yeah.
Which I just thought was like an interesting thing. It's probably one of those, you know, Prithian things that we just are just now learning about because civilization is like coming back to what it's supposed to be like. But it doesn't really sound that great, obviously. I mean, nobody likes a tithe. It kind of sounds, again, very much old timey. I just think of like these old kingdoms and how everybody
medieval is
very medieval. Yeah. But also I was like 3 months. That's not that long for people to get their lives back in order and to get a tithe.
You haven't gotten your shit together in 3 months.
I know. And he pushed it back 1 month. So I was like, it was going to be in 2 months. And you graciously gave them 1 more month. I was like, these people don't even have homes. Like they're rebuilding homes.
Right.
What are they supposed to give you? I just thought I was like, maybe like a year. Yeah. I feel like I would give people a year, but again,
they don't really say like what the tithe amount is.
No.
Like, is it relative to what they have?
Yeah, we don't know.
If you don't have a home, but you have a chicken, you give them chicken eggs? I don't know.
Yeah. A good question.
So we'll see, because it's coming up. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a weird concept.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not weird. It makes sense. It's just with this weird like situation they have where they're both very like archaic and prim and proper. You're like, oh, this is another thing that somehow magically fits right between those two things. Mm-hmm. So, and then so they come upon this town, wanting to help, and no one is really letting them help. They keep saying the debt is paid.
Yep. They call her Feyre Cursebreaker.
Which, like, what a name.
I know. It feels very, I don't know.
It feels like a hero's name.
Yeah, a very heroic name.
Which she is. So
she is. Yeah, it's appropriate.
Yes.
I would just be uncomfortable if people called me that.
True.
But, I mean, that's just me.
Well, especially someone who calls herself a butcher.
That's very true, yeah.
She's not going to like these, like, more positive names.
Yeah, being, like, praised, basically.
Yeah. But I appreciated her line of, well, that was a new name.
Yep. But then, yeah, what you were saying before about we learned about what the villagers kind of went through under the mountain.
So it's like hearing how they were in these like labor camps basically with no light and no air for 50 years. Like, I get why these people are like low-key worshiping her.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you do nothing for me ever. Mm-hmm. Like, she had no idea. She knew she was saving Prythian, but had no concept to, like, how she was actually helping everybody. She knew freedom, but, like...
I mean, she probably just thought everybody was, like, chilling in the caves, like, with her. But no,
this is something that they didn't even touch on in the last book.
No. I mean, people were literally, like, eating each other. And just, it's horrible. We can't even imagine how terrible it was. And it was 50 years that these people were down there.
And granted, when you're immortal, 50 years goes by really quickly, blah, blah, blah. But still.
That's a long time.
That is a very long time.
And so even to just be out, I feel like these people don't even know what to do with themselves, how to act normally again. So to see someone that saved everybody, you don't even want to interact with her because she seems like this person who has it all together, and you're, trying to not relive the past 50 years of all the horrible things you've done.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to see her at all, because I'd just be comparing myself to her. It's like, oh, she saved Prythian, this human, and what did I do? I just, rotted away for 50 years, ate people, killed people, did God knows what. Yeah. So I wouldn't even want to see Feyre. So, like, I can understand now, like, more so why Tamlin's keeping her away.
Right. That's how I feel about Taylor Swift. Anyway, but Lucian says, I know you wanted to help. I'm sorry. And I really was like, I feel like this was Feyre trying to do something to pull her out of herself. Right. And it just, like, unfortunately was a situation that just brought her right back into it.
I know. And unfortunately, like, there really is nothing she can do to help.
To help them, yeah.
So, anything else for chapter 3?
No. Just like, girl, so depressed.
I know. Chapter 4.
Okay, last chapter.
Yes.
A lot happens.
I know. This is the chapter.
So I have a yikes ticker. Okay. Mm-hmm. I said, as the wedding approaches, Feyre is lost in the midst of all the parties. She hopes that after the wedding, all will be right. But as she walks down the aisle, she spirals in her shame and wants out, silently begging for help, which seems to arrive. Mm-hmm. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah. So we open at a party. Mm-hmm. What did you think?
It kind of reminds me of how when she went back home to the mortal realm and Elaine and her dad kind of threw her that party, and she just doesn't care, doesn't want to socialize, doesn't know what to do with herself. She acts very similarly.
Yeah.
She talks about how, like, she would go up to Tamlin's friends. She's like, I forgot their names as soon as they told me, basically. Right. And she's just
on that one. I made a note. I was like, same. I do that all the time.
But she just has, like, a plastered smile on her face. She doesn't really talk to anybody. She just clings to Ianthe and Tamlin and just makes no effort, it seems like. And I was like, it's your wedding day tomorrow, basically. Right. You could pretend to be a little bit more excited.
Or you just should generally be excited.
I mean, you should be excited. And, like, I understand some people don't like parties and big social situations. But it's your wedding day tomorrow. You should be excited.
Right.
You could pretend to have fun in big social settings, you know?
But with that parallel, right, the reason why she felt like that back in the mortal world was she felt like she didn't belong there.
Right.
Like, it was like, I don't fit here anymore, based off of all the things that had happened to her. So, comparing it to now, she doesn't feel like she fits anymore.
Right.
Like, she's like, I don't even know what my place is here. So... Because we know she can handle herself at a party. Right. We saw Summer Solstice.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So. But Tamlin's just in his element.
Yeah.
Just like having the best time.
She mentions that he apparently doesn't like parties, but he comes off, he's the person that can pull it out. You know, he can pretend that he's having a good time even if he's not. And I feel
like he's genuinely having a good time.
Well, he's seeing all these old people that he hasn't seen in so long. Like, yeah, he's having a good time.
Yeah.
She makes an interesting comment, though.
Yeah.
Feyre does. She said, I was grateful that I'd never be High Lady, never be Tamlin's equal in responsibility and power. A small forgotten part of me roared and screamed at that. I was like, she's really lost a part of herself.
Yeah.
Like, she's just existing. She is not living. To not even...
Someone like Feyre would be like, why am I not going to be High Lady?
Right.
But, like, current Feyre is just like, whatever.
She's like, I don't want to be equal in responsibility and power. I was like, what? Yes, you do. The Feyre we know does want to be equal. And, I mean, she said, like a small part of her, like, screamed at that. But she's just repressed herself so much.
I'm literally having that visualization of, like Feyre being so tiny and her, like, soul just being so dark. Like, she's just, like, lost in this dark. It was, like, so sad.
I know. Yeah, so that really just upset me reading that.
Well, and so she's talking with 2 of the sentries, and he says, congratulations on tomorrow, a fitting end, eh? And she goes, a fitting end would have been me in a grave burning in hell.
Yeah.
Whoa! Chill!
I know. I was like, no, it's not. You literally saved all of Prithian. I understand you killed 2 innocents.
Okay,
but this is not the end you deserve. You don't deserve to be rotting in hell for that.
We're saying that. Yes. Is anyone telling her that, though?
You would think with the way they're treating her, that's clear enough that they don't think she should be rotting in hell for that.
Right.
I mean, they're praising her and worshiping her. That's not exactly what I think of when I'm thinking of somebody that deserves to be rotting in hell.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But in that same conversation, I could not believe that one of those guys had the balls to ask about the High Lord and, like, the tattoos on
Night Court.
I was like, what?
I was like, dude.
I was like, you guys aren't friends. This is... that's like a very personal question.
Right. But it shows that, like, there's some kind of gossip happening. Like,
for
people
sure.
know about it. People are talking. Yes. People want to know more. It's like, mind your business.
I know. I was like, the night before the wedding, really? This is what you're bringing up?
This is not the time.
No.
But her response made me laugh. Because that guy is like, he's probably running scared now that Tamlin's got his powers back. And she goes, then you don't know Rhysand very well at all. And I'm like, oh. I was also, but so part of me is like, dang. But the other part of me is like, Feyre, maybe that's not the thing to say.
No. It's
like court.
An odd response.
To, like, Tamlin's people. Like.
Right.
But there was a minute of feistiness there.
I know. I was like, Feyre's back.
Feyre, I sense you.
I know. Just a little spark of, like, who she is. And that she wouldn't, not say something. Yeah. She always speaks her mind.
Exactly.
So it felt very much like old Feyre.
Yeah.
Which is encouraging. Like, she's still in there.
I know. So she's spending the time with Ianthe, and eventually she's like, I'm out. I'm ready for bed. Mm-hmm. And she goes to bed alone.
Very traditional. But I mean, I feel like that's how we do things nowadays, too. It's like, you don't spend the night with the groom.
But the last line of this, it says, alone in my bedroom, I realized I couldn't remember the last time I truly laughed. Feyre.
I know.
Very much, like you said before, beginning of the first book, Feyre.
Right.
Because that was the same thing. It was like, oh my God, she laughed. We're so happy she laughed.
Right. They made such a big deal about it. And now it's like, she's back to that.
Yeah.
Sad day.
Yeah.
And then it is the morning of the wedding.
The morning of the wedding.
I just want to point out that this dress, granted, I don't know what it actually looks like, but in my head,
sounds horrific.
You've seen the movie Bridesmaids, right?
Yes.
The couture dress that she initially wears
Hold on. I'm going to look up this exact picture, though.
Hilarious. I was like, this is what Feyre's dress looks like.
I haven't seen that movie in so long. Oh, yes.
Do you know the dress I'm talking about?
Yes, I know the dress you're talking about.
It's the most ridiculous thing. I was like, this is what Feyre's dress looks like.
I love that.
In my head. I'm just so excited. I cannot wait to see that on the show, just so I can see the most audacious, god-awful dress.
I know.
But that's what I think of when I see this dress in my head.
Yeah. And no, hold on, wait. Where is it? And Alice, at some point, has the audacity to tell her that she's beautiful. And I'm like, Alice.
But she mentions that Alice was like chuckling at the dress, basically. Yeah. Like, she's saying that she's beautiful, but the dress just...
I know. You.
Yes. Beautiful.
Just you.
And she's like, I could deal with the dress, but it was the puffy sleeves. I was like,
just
oh
tear
my
those
gosh.
sleeves off.
I know.
Done.
I know. That also like reminds me of, what is it? Is it What a Girl Wants?
Yes.
With Amanda Bynes. She goes to like London and they give her that awful dress and she like cuts it apart and like that's what I think of too.
I love that movie so much.
I know, it's fantastic. I watched it like maybe a month ago because it was on Netflix.
I need to rewatch that one. Something though that I noticed is Feyre was like waking up on her wedding day is she's like earlier playing those like and then games again. She's like, once I'm married, then it'll be like this and then it'll be like this, and it's just like, can't keep waiting.
I know, but it's like I truly hope it is, you know.
I know.
I hope this.
Yeah, that's it. I hope that this is the pivotal point.
I know that everything can change for you guys because now people will know what to call you. Now people know who you are, your place in Prithia, and everything like that. And hopefully that just makes everything easier.
Yeah.
So she is walking, like getting ready to walk down the aisle, basically.
Yeah.
And there's red roses on the ground.
Yeah, we didn't mention this earlier.
No.
But Ianthe specifically asked what color roses.
She's like listing all the colors, and she says red, and Feyre's like, no red.
Right.
No red. Because it basically reminds her of blood.
Right. So it's like, Ianthe, she said one thing. Like, she has let you make every decision.
I know.
She says one thing. You can't.
I was like, why would she do that? This is like her friend. This is the person that's been helping her plan everything. I was like, why would you put red roses? And like, as she's walking down the aisle, she's like, this is like the pool of blood that around this person that I killed. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a romantic way to walk down the aisle.
Yeah, is that what you thought about when you walked down the aisle?
Jeez.
But it makes me wonder, it's like, if Ianthe, because she's just started spiraling at this point. If Ianthe didn't put red roses down, I wonder if she still would have spiraled in that same way.
I don't think she would have. I think that was like this trigger and it just sent her over the edge, you know? But she basically has like an anxiety attack.
I know.
She like stops in the middle of the aisle, just
frozen,
freaking out, like mentally just spiraling out of control. And she like takes a step back as Tamlin like takes a step forward, and you're like,
she says, forever I would never get better, never get free of myself, of that dungeon that I'd spent 3 months, like just total loss.
I was like, how? I was like, no, like focus on Tamlin, like just make it 2 more steps. You just have to get through the ceremony, and then you can be like with him forever.
Like breathe, pause your panic attack for 10 minutes.
I know, but she's like, I need to get out of here. Like stop this. And
she's screaming, "Help me!" in her head.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then it says Tamlin took a step toward me, concern shading those eyes. I retreated a step. No. And I'm like, oh, damn.
I know.
Oh, damn.
I'm like, this is not good.
No. And then
Rhysand appears.
Yep. Whew.
Hello, Feyre, darling. Yeah.
Like, the timing.
I know.
I'm like, we're going to obviously get into this next week, but my initial thoughts are like, did you do this on purpose?
Of course. I was like, you dick. You are like the biggest douchebag ever. Like you so planned this.
For their wedding day to
I know.
pull her.
You gave her 3 months of reprieve thinking, oh, he's not going to come. Nothing's going to happen. And then, of course, that guy asked about it last night.
Yep.
I was like, did that like trigger something? Like the High Lord being mentioned? Did somebody like talk about it? And then he was, the wedding's tomorrow.
But she's also looking for a way out. So it's like, that's also convenient.
She is. But is she just freaking out in her head?
Right. She's not looking for a way, like, out.
No.
Just out of that particular experience.
I know. But yeah, I was like, oh, Rhysand appears. What is going to happen?
Yeah, just like, what a way to make an entrance.
I know.
I found Rhysand straightening the lapels of his black jacket. I can picture this so clearly. He's standing there, there's smoke all around him, and he's just fixing his jacket. And you're like,
of course I was coming. Like no
I'm dressed for the occasion.
I'm ready. Here I am.
And that's how we end this week.
Oh, I know. I was like, come on. Why did we not go through the next chapter?
I know. Ugh. Torture.
I know. But so next week is chapters 5 through 8.
No. 5 through 7 next week.
5 through 7? Ooh,
yes.
Okay.
They're longer chapters.
Gotcha. Okay.
So chapters 5 through 7 next week.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens next.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So exciting. Real quick before you go, we have an Instagram page.
Yes.
If you have not started following us yet, we are at Fairies and Fangirls. So go give us a follow, interact with us there.
Yep.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I know. And welcome to season 2.
Woo! Thank you so much for listening to A Court of Fairies and Fangirls, a Sarah J. Maas fan podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and let us know what you think.
You can find us on Instagram at Fairies and Fangirls. Jump in on the conversation, and we look forward to chatting with you more next week. Bye!
Bye!